Hi, everybody. It's Elizabeth Whedon at weneedavacation.com, and I'm joined here by Joan Talmadge, one of the owners of weneedavacation.com. And I know you're all about halfway through your rental season so far this year. So last night we actually met with a number of our homeowners and discussed a few things about how the season's going so far. And what do you think, Joan? What are some of the highlights of what we talked about?
Well, we started out talking about how busy the summer is, of course, and just like last year, it's been vacationers are just flocking to the Cape and Islands, but unlike last year, the anxiety level is much less. We know so much more about the virus itself and how it spreads, and so many more people are vaccinated. In fact, it's reported that Massachusetts has the second lowest hospitalization rate in the country, and also the second highest vaccination rate in the country. Only Vermont is ahead of us. So that projects a good, circumstances for where we are, and but still, we're concerned about the spread of the new variant, the Delta variant, and so many of you may have vacationers who are coming from out of state, and they may not be aware of the situation on the Cape and Islands, and so we're recommending that people tell their guests that it's advisable when they're indoors to still wear their masks and just to be cautious, because restaurants, stores are so crowded. It's just best to be prudent about that. We also talked about the unprecedented vacationer traffic on our site. In fact, it's the highest since in the 23 years that we've been in business. And our inventory as a result is extremely low. Very few homes are available right now. And we showed this graph showing the percentage of weeks that are still available as of the end of July. And you can see that that most of the weeks are well below 5% of availability. It's not until you get to the week of August 21st, where it's about maybe 6 or 7%, and that's probably going down as we speak. The last week of August is up a little over 25%. So if you get a cancellation, and there have been some, especially people who are traveling from out of state and flying and perhaps feeling uncomfortable about doing that, or they're older, our recommendation is to allow them to cancel. They have to be comfortable and coming here. And if you post an owner special or an alert for a nominal fee, you are almost sure to get it rebooked very quickly. We've found that time and time again. When a homeowner gets a cancellation, they post the alert, and sometimes within hours they've gotten it booked. That it's just been another one of those summers where there's a lot changing, and we just have to go with the flow and make our vacationers feel that they can be comfortable in our homes. The other thing we mentioned was the tax increase. So those of you who have a home in Truro, Eastham, or Wellfleet, the local tax in those three towns has been increased from 4 to 6%. For Truro, it's effective as of October 1st, and Eastham and Wellfleet effective as of January 1, which means that if you have a tenancy, a vacationer who's coming and arriving anytime after those dates, they would be taxed at the new 6% local tax. It gives the total tax for those three towns 14.45%, which now leaves on the Cape only the towns of Sandwich, Harwich, and Chatham at the 12.45%, and they will probably change at some point to increase it. The islands are lower, and Cape is lower. So this is just on the Cape. And we talked about some reminders for vacationers, right, Elizabeth?
We sure did. I know that the season, as I mentioned, is more than halfway over for most of us. But these are just some quick reminders that you can think about while your guests are still there now. First of all, it starts with the guest reviews. We all know at this point how incredibly valuable they are, really vital to our success in renting. This year's been a crazy year, huh, Joan? In terms of guest reviews too. We're up 38% over last year and even the year before, the volume of guest reviews that we're getting. So if you haven't gotten any guest reviews yet, your competition is, I'm sorry to say. So you want to be sure you can do everything, that you do everything you can to solicit some guest reviews. The fact is they don't just fall in our laps. We have to make an effort and ask our guests for those guest reviews. And if you need help, if you're on our site, if you have a listing with us, there's a wonderful, under your guest reviews section, there's a wonderful request form feature that enables you to generate a request email right from your listing. It's really easy for you, and it's more importantly, frankly, easier for your guests. They just hit a button that's right inside the email they receive to start writing that review. Just can't emphasize that enough. And it's not too late, even for those guests who came to you in June or early July. If you haven't asked them yet, you haven't gotten a review, ask them for it now. The next thing you hear us talking about ad nauseum, but we just can't say it enough, is the importance of communication. That's, often and in a timely manner, touching base with them at regular intervals, and really being consistent about it. Having a kind of schedule where you follow and you're sure you've contacted every one of your guests regularly before they arrive. But we always say before, during, and after. It starts obviously right in the beginning. You will have vetted them. You probably would have had a conversation with them, and then you would send a lease and get that back. So you've had that communication. But if that booking was early in the booking season, let's say last fall for this season, you don't want to wait until the second deposit is due, maybe as late as May or something. That's a long time in between. If you can, it's nice just to touch base. How are you doing? Just if nothing else, to kind of, it sort of gets them in that mindset that they're checking their dates and confirming things. But anyway, then you certainly would be in touch when their second deposit is due, rental deposit is due, and the tax and so forth, any fees. But then say their booking isn't until August, you definitely want to touch base with them again, probably 2 to 3 weeks prior to their arrival. I always remind my guests just so many times, almost every time I speak with them, that I do provide bed linens, but I don't provide towels. So please don't forget your towels. And then we always obviously suggest that you touch base a day or two before they arrive. Just make sure they know how to get to your home, even if they have GPS. Some places like mine are on a dirt road and the GPS isn't always so reliable. And the key one that people often forget about is to check in with them within 24 hours of their arrival. Just make sure they're finding everything okay, make sure they're happy, they don't have any questions or concerns. That is probably one of, if not the most important one. It's amazing how many negative reviews we could have avoided if the homeowner had just checked in and made sure they were okay. So number one, guest reviews. Number two, communication. and the third one is just at this time of year, believe it or not, we're getting a ton of inquiries for next season for 2022. So we strongly recommend, if you haven't done so already and you have some idea, at least whether you're renting next year, get your pricing and availability entered on your calendar. We've extended that calendar now. You can actually edit it right through the spring, right, Joan, of 2023.
June of 23.
Right. So if you don't have your pricing and availability in, your listing is much less likely to appear in a search if you don't have pricing availability. It's not that it won't come up, but much less likely. So I know you're focused on this summer and you're just trying to get through this summer, but wouldn't it be great to get some early bookings, get something set up for next year? And one last thing on that is, every year when we ask people to set up their pricing for next year and availability, their response is, I've got repeat guests and I want to protect them. I don't want to open it up until I know what their plans are. The problem is they are almost really too generous about that. And our feeling is, open up the rest of your calendar, even if you just save those dates that you think that, certainly if they're repeats that have been coming back for a number of years, that's pretty safe. Block those off if you want. Otherwise, have the whole thing open, and when you send their security deposit back, you can just check and touch base and say, I don't know what your plans are for next year, but I'd be happy to give you kind of a right of first refusal up to a certain date. Even then, it shouldn't be longer, certainly, than January 1st. Last year, we saw a ton of early bookings, meaning at the end of last summer and into the fall. So far this year, it's looking like the same thing. We're already getting so many more inquiries for next season than we usually do. So I just caution you to not be so protective of your repeat guests that you miss out on early bookings. Was there anything else, Joan? We pretty much.
Well, in mentioning repeat guests, we did talk some last night about the value of repeat guests, and that we just want to do everything we possibly can to generate these people who would like to come back year after year. We know them, they know us as homeowners, they know our house, we know they'll take care of it, and there are far fewer problems with repeat guests. And some people have questions about, well, I'm increasing my price. What do I do in terms of a price increase for repeat renters? And there are several ways to handle it, but one is to compromise, perhaps, meet in the middle of the price increase, or give them last year's price, offer them that, perhaps to a certain, if they pay in full now, perhaps they can pay last year's price. That was one suggestion last night, but that's only one. You have to work it out. But if they are really good renters, you want to do everything you can to encourage them to come back.
I would just pull back into that communications, that how important that is, and they will be more likely to come back for honestly years to come, even if you build that relationship. And we always say that communication creates the groundwork, the foundation of your relationship with your guests. So it starts right from the beginning. When you're first speaking with them, and that's one of the benefits of that good communication, is that hopefully they'll come back for years to come. Is that it, Joan? I think otherwise, we hope you guys have a great rest of the season. I hope you stay well, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next meeting.
And don't forget, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach out to us at info@weneedavacation.com, or call us at 781-239-1469.
Perfect.
So take care and enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll be in touch.
Bye.
Bye.